What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again. This time we are here with Andy Schmidt of the almighty Disillusion. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be in New York City, at
Yeah.
least in a way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's so awesome to have you here. We got this brand new album, AM, coming out very soon. Is this just a continuation or picking up where you left off after the Liberation, or was this meant to be almost like a new beginning for Disillusion in a way?
Well, both would be too much. Of course, we started right after the liberation, and we definitely wanted to make not a continuation, but at least like make a fluid transition to the new record. But then, of course, COVID came and everything in the world changed, and we were also kind of locked down and kind of just focused on our emotions in the time. So, of course, things got different. So the new record I am is, of course, also, how do you say it in English? I don't know, a child of its time. I don't know if you can say this. Of course, it's there are different circumstances, and we incorporated all feelings and thoughts. So it is, of course, different and up to date in a way. Not, so it's both in a way.
Well, and the reason why I was wondering about that is because I know the Liberation, for lack of better words, was sort of like the comeback for Dissolution, being that it was, over a decade since Gloria, the previous album. So I was almost wondering if maybe like this new album and the Liberation is almost kind of like the new era for Dissolution in a way.
Of course, it is. I mean, it's a different band, and it's a lot of many years lay between the records, and of course, it's a new decade. Of course, it's different in a way we developed, and things that happened 20 years ago also kind of just happened. You cannot reproduce just by trying to reproduce things. So, of course, it's different. But Liberation was supposed to be more close to Back to Times of Splendor. So yes, indeed, we now also for this new record, the whole band was far more involved in the writing than ever before. So this is much more of a group effort than ever before. So this is new. This is the new band, and well, I hope people will enjoy
Mhm.
it.
Well, I think with every Disillusion album, from back to Times of Splendor to Gloria to the Liberation to now, it almost seems like every album has like its own things that sort of like stand out in a way. Do you begin the songwriting process with like a preconceived vision of what you want it to sound like, or is the songwriting process very like experimental in a way?
Well, there was indeed a meeting that we did only 2 weeks after the release of the Liberation. I After the release, I went to the sea, and everybody else had a break, and then we met and talked really just right straightforward, talked about our wishes and expectations for a new record. And in the end, it turns out that actually, basically everything we talked about ended up being on the record as wished, and so yes, there was a certain plan, but of course nobody really imagined how it would sound like. It was more like we wanted to go more into extremes. I mean, like make hard things harder, make atmospheric things more atmospheric. I wanted to extend like the boundaries, but the writing itself is far more how do you call it? Yeah, emotional and the words, spontaneous in the way that things that are important emotionally or whatever in the world, they kind of directly uh, meld into the music. So it's hard to foresee,
Mhm.
you know.
Do you feel that like because kind of interpreted the Dissolution albums, and I don't know if this was always the intention in a way, but I've always looked at every album as sort of like a concept album in a way. I especially like because it always seems like with the atmospheric elements behind it, every song like belongs together. Do you think of a concept or a lyrical idea before writing music, and that can maybe help determine the music itself in a way?
Not so much about a lyrical concept, but the main idea is always to make an album. So a 1 hour piece of music that is consistent, that is flowing, that is entertaining in a way, that is conveying depth, and some drama. And so I mean, to say it very literally, I think so that the listener is being entertained well. It's like but I don't mean this from the selling side. It's more like this is I want to make 1 hour of music that is consistent. So, and of course, you need a story for that, and you need paths that you walk, and you need a certain goal, an aim. But it's not that we, conceptualize it in the beginning. It's developing, of course. But
Yeah.
it always starts with the first song, and we know very soon. I always it's the fourth record, and every record I knew very early what was supposed to be the first song. So from that on, we kind of develop it.
Yeah, like when going back to the Liberation, you don't start that album off with any other song other than In Waking Hours. Like that is like the introduction track, and then like it does like lead into it as you further go into like the Great Unknown and the Shimmer and the Darkest Sea and Time to Let Go, etc. Like, does maybe the making of an album get a little bit easier when you start off with that song because then it kind of lays down a foundation of where to continue going?
I don't know. That's how we do it, I don't know. I just, I'm not 20 anymore, so I'm like a little bit more relaxed when it comes to things like this. It just happens as it happens, and but most of the time it's just the right feeling.
Yeah.
So if it fits, then it fits. Let's go.
I,
Let's do it.
I guess that's a product with age. Because every album that I've listened, whether it would be by you or a lot of bands that have that atmospheric, progressive nature behind it, as a guy in my 20s, I could write a novel on every single album based on the interpretation of it. So, is it fair to say that maybe every album is reflective of an emotion that you were particularly feeling at that time?
There's no way around it. Yes, I mean, there's no way around it. I do emotional music. I write it. We write it, and we want to make it. Of course, we also want to be in a way successful, and you need to adapt to certain things in the music industry and whatever. Yes, of course, we all have to do that. But yet we want to make emotional music. So making emotional music means that, well, you have to deal with your emotions as they happen.
Do you
And yeah.
do you feel that the longer though you work on a song or an album for that matter, that maybe it makes it a little bit harder to maintain that emotion in a way?
For this record, definitely, it was a hell of a ride. It really was, because definitely some songs were really written in Germany, or the whole world was on lockdown, But the first two lockdowns, many songs were written, and keeping, but when it all got open again, you got to travel and meet friends and everything, and things kind of, until the war broke out. It's another story. Uh, but things started to look brighter, and then keeping the darkness going and writing again and improving the guitar work. It was really tough this time. I really have to say that. Yeah,
Yeah.
really tough.
Do you have to, and with every single album, does it start off the same way? Does it always start off with the guitar, or does it start off with a specific melody or a rhythm in a way?
Yeah. I mean, in the end, I'm me or the other guys. Basically, it's just acoustic guitar and here somewhere on the couch, nothing special, it's the first, it's just happening. But as soon as there's a certain, whatever, certain part, then I personally go to a house in the forest, and in Czech Republic, very secluded place, and I go for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I kind of just start putting things together, and that's the process that cannot be explained. I don't know what's happening before that.
Mm-hmm.
Before I just have a slight vision of it, but it happens when you sit down and focus 100% on it. But basically, it's just acoustic guitar stuff, people.
Well, when it comes to making the music with the band though, and having this lineup, and this is like a new question I started to like to ask every band.
Okay.
Is it better if everybody in the band is on the same page and is in the same emotional state of mind when making music together, or if everybody feels their own thing that could actually help bring new elements and make the song more diverse in a way?
I mean, it will sound like a detour, but we've been talking a lot on this record while making it. We've been talking a lot, and we've been also talking a lot about how we feel in general. in relationships and whatever, and really wanted to establish a communication so that you always also know how everybody is, why he is saying or reacting in this or that way. I think it's not at all necessary that everybody feels exactly the same thing. Not at all. It's important that everybody understands the vision and can support the vision
Mm-hmm.
in every single second. And if not, we have to change something, because it doesn't work as a band, and it needs to work as a band on stage and everywhere. So this is not so much about saying no or having the veto. It's more about, okay, let's improve this so everybody is really into it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but then it doesn't really matter. So in the end, when the song is finished, everybody has the same emotion. At least that's the aim, right?
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned like playing it live too, because I'd imagine when you're playing live, you have to play stuff off from the whole Disillusion catalog. So,
Yeah.
when do you feel like that the emotional element kind of changes in a live setting if you were to start off with a Glorious song and then play a new song and then go to back to the Times of Splendor album? Do you think that adds another layer of context when you're playing different songs from different eras together in one set?
I mean, I don't know. It's, for us, it's also sometimes a challenge. We take a lot of time putting together the set lists because, of course, we have to create a new drama during the show that we cannot play a whole record. Stuff, yeah. So, but I believe that we do a good job in kind of blending everything. So we have a huge finale, and yeah, it always takes some time and some work to work everything out, that it works nicely. You cannot just put the songs together as you wish. There's so many components: tempo, harmonics,
I was
feeling.
I was interviewing Hansi from Blind Guardian a couple weeks
Hmm.
ago, and he was like saying like a song live could either be destroyed or phenomenal depending on where in the set list it is. You can open with the
Yes,
song, and that would be amazing, but you put that song in the middle or in the end of the set list, it could destroy it. So
yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
So we played like we were on European tour like last month. 22 shows was amazing, but we only had like a 45 minutes set. Then we had 1 week off, and then we played a headliner show, 95 minutes last weekend. It's exactly the same thing. It's like changing. Please put in 50 minutes of music into the set list was really a challenge last week, but all we managed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge for a lot of bands with that atmospheric element behind it, because I don't think it's like one of those things that just show up out of nowhere and stop on the spot either. You have to almost kind of like lead in a certain way and lead out in a certain way.
Yes. 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 Of course. Yeah. Of course.
Is there at all maybe a similar energy though that you put into your live shows as you do when you are songwriting? Is there anything at all that ties the two arts together, or do you consider them two completely separate sides of who you are?
Not anymore. I mean, it was not an intention to separate it. It was not intended. But there was a time when basically when we came back in 2016, 2019, there wasn't a lot of shows. We were not really a live band. There was like 10 or 15 shows a year. So that has changed. And for this record already, we had the live idea always in mind. Not at all. Sometimes we said, okay, we might not play this song live, so it doesn't matter. And not because it's bad, but it's a record song. It's not a live song. It's okay. But for everything else, we really had it in mind. So yes, this is far more one thing, one piece now.
Yeah.
It did not. It used to be different. Yes.
Now, I feel like there's a lot to celebrate for Disillusion. Last year was 20 years since a lot of the world first heard Disillusions with the Three Neuron Kings EP. That
Yes.
right after unless we were lucky enough to hear the Subspace Insanity or Red demo back in the day, the Three Neuron Kings was really the first
Yes,
offering that we got from Disillusion, I kind of wanted to turn back the clock a little bit. And what was the sort of
let's do it.
mindset with the making of that EP, as opposed to, did that at all maybe influence on how you would make up Back to the Times of Splendor? Did that at all maybe influence how you would make a full length album in a way?
Starting Three Newer Kings,
Yeah,
going to Back Time Splendor.
yeah. Like, did that
Yeah,
set the ground on how you would songwrite
interesting.
in the
But
future?
of course, it's one era, right? Era. Of course, it's one era. It was 2001 and 2004. Back Time to Splendor was released, and we did a lot of live playing. And so this is one thing. Yes, it is one thing. Um, so Three Neuron Kings was an amazing test that we did not know that it would be a test, but we felt it. So we decided not to make an album. We decided to make a 4-track. And then also we had the Porter, which was a 2-track in between those. This was all just, but it was an amazing learning, because then we realized when we make an album, that's what I said in the beginning, we cannot just assemble a certain number of songs. We needed more. Then it needed to be more to be good all the way we wanted it to be. And so, yes, it all kind of led to Back Time to Splendor. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, and when you mentioned the Porter too, that's now 20 years old this year. And I really like, what I loved about, I know, sorry to make you feel old, but
It is.
the Three
Okay.
Neuron Kings EP, what I loved about that, it almost had kind of like what I call the debut innocence in a way, where like you
Yeah.
see a band that is like slowly developing their sound, and I think the mold was broken with Back to Times of Splendor.
Yes, definitely. We were really young and beautiful. I mean, we just did things,
Yeah.
we just tried. It was right, and everything was way too fast. All the music also was way too fast. It was energy, 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 and we wanted to do that. It felt good, and yes, and yet again, is I mean, we did it very well. We did. It was for Back Time Splendor was a debut record, and I mean, what's to say? It's. I mean, a lot of people in the world think it's a classic. So thanks to everybody, it's amazing. So we did a quite good job in these times. Of course, we were young, and Back to Time of Splendor was the first time that it got really hard. It's writing or producing the album. Writing is okay, but producing it, it's like, and suddenly you produce it, and suddenly 1 year is gone. It's like, oof.
Yeah. Well,
And this, yeah, it's getting tough.
Well, and not to pigeonhole Disillusion by any means, but a lot of people have called you guys like sort of like the atmospheric, like people have called you prog, people have called you like that atmospheric avant-garde, whatever on the periodic table of genres there are. But like to me, I don't think a band of like that style really hits the ground running on their debut the way it did. I mean, Opeth went through a lot of trial and error before they put out Blackwater Park. So it really, I thought with the first full length album, Back to Times of Splendor, I really thought that really was hitting the ground running. It seems like you were able to find your sound right out of the gate.
Lucky us.
Yeah, right.
Lucky.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it happened, and of course, it's a lot of work. It's not a coincidence in a way. I all back then I also was working in recording studios, so it just didn't happen out of the blue. There was a lot of time before that,
yeah.
and we did a lot of recordings before that also. So but also for Disillusion, I mean, it's also bad. It's not. I try to focus on the really challenging stuff. I mean, I'm hard to myself, but then I can be relaxed too. But when it comes to like releasing music, I mean, it needs really to be the best that we can do. So, and this is there's so many aspects. It's not just about the playing, but we just want to do really the best we can do, and if it's not the best, then we do it again.
Yeah. And I could tell there's no cutting corners in your songwriting. And
No,
and I have two more questions for you. But when it comes to
yes.
getting that inspiration to write, whether it would be lyrical ideas or music ideas, just any sort of artistic inspiration, Do you have to look for it? Do you like put yourself in a specific place to cultivate ideas? You mentioned the forest that you went to in the Czech Republic, or does inspiration just strike out of the blue for you sometimes?
I hope this doesn't sound, arrogant or something. If I take my guitar right now, then something will happen. It's That's just how it is. I don't know how good it will be or if it will be a fantastic song, but it always something happening. It's always just as soon as I think this goes for any musician. As soon as you have the frame and for to let go of whatever is concerning you, as soon as you can focus on how you feel and just in your body, this is spiritual things. But as soon as you can just focus on yourself, then it's things start flowing. I mean, it's not so. There's no secret behind it.
Yeah.
You know?
Does it come internally or externally or both?
Like you need to create the your atmosphere. Of course, it doesn't just happen. You know, I mean, you have to, of course, create an atmosphere that is good for your soul, and for your mind. And then it just happens. I mean, it's like with everybody else. I mean, or with everything else. As soon as when you start dating a new girl, you already focused on her, and it's like, oh, and you have the open mindedness of a whatever,
Yeah,
and you focus. It's that simple, I
definitely.
think.
Definitely. And the final question I have is the most difficult one. Are you ready? How do
Let's
you
do it.
how do you know when you're done with a song?
When the scheduled date has arrived.
I interviewed a band before you, and they said like the same thing. When there's a deadline to be reached, that's when you know you
Yeah,
have to be
yeah,
done.
it never stops. I mean, yeah, literally not. But then again, it's good. It's all good. I mean, just a quick story to you. In COVID times, it was apparently complicated to kind of decide when will it be released or when we can be recorded. How can we book the studio? It was so it was all blurry. So we kind of really just said, okay, this is the day we're going to start recording. And that's when we put the finger on the calendar, that's the day when we all of a sudden started to feel pressure. And the pressure was really good because things went really, really dense, and we finalized things. So I also enjoy the pressure, though it is, of course, and deadlines. No, I enjoy the deadlines and enjoy the pressure because things get finished.
De-
So
Definitely. I feel like with every Dissolution album too, it is almost, I call it like infinite atmosphere. So it really is like an album you could get lost in and you don't know I ask myself with every single album, how do they know to stop at this point? Because like it almost seems like it can go on forever. There is an essence of infinity within the Dissolution albums.
you know, I mean, it could be different. I mean, there are versions of the songs, and sometimes this is more about the whole album. It's more about the flow of things of the whole album that we decide. Okay, now the song has to be like this. It could be different. We could always make a shift, or always make a turn and lead the song someplace else. I mean, the long songs. I don't want to say that it's that easy, but the long songs are basically they just take a detour at some point. That's it. If you leave it out, it's shorter. It's that simple. But then again, it's not simple. We could put in the shifts everywhere, but of course we do not do it because it doesn't feel right all the time.
Yeah, of course. Of
So
course. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It was a great privilege to be able to talk with you today. Is there just anything else with Dissolution you'd like to promote for the release of AM in terms of tours? Can you please bring Dissolution to the States one day? We would love to have you guys
yeah,
here.
yes. First of all, thank you very much for having me here in your show.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, it's really a pity. It's really a shame we have not been to the US yet in 20 years, and I really do hope that it will change with the album next year. I don't know, but yet there are no plans. So this is still, I don't know. This is mysterious why it did not happen.
Yeah.
So we really wish for it to happen. There is this certain chance that we play hopefully we play the Prophecy US Festival. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Let's hope. So really would be really glad if that would happen.
Absolutely.
Turns up.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Disillusion. Be sure to check out AM. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.